Okay, so I'm reading the Bible and I notice how it specifically describes that there is a correlation between how many generations there are from Adam to Abraham, which let's remember that Abraham was the first man that God started the covenant with, and from Abraham to Jesus, there was the same amount of generations. So I thought to myself, if that's true, which it is, the Bible clearly states it, wouldn't God make this pattern continue to the return of Jesus or to the end of, humanity before the millennial reign? Wouldn't there be an exact same pattern? So what I did was I divided those generations by the time that had passed from Abraham to Jesus, and I got the average lifespan or the average length of years for each generation, and then I divided the time from Jesus to now, and it matched. The length of generations was the same. And that was God confirming to me that we are in the season, we are in the time, we are the last generation. Another great example that God is trying to show people, that He wants people to know the time and season that we're in, is the parable of the fig tree. And in Matthew 24, when Jesus is talking about, the signs of the end times and how the disciples will know, he talks about learning the parable of the fig tree. And he says, "Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass until all these things occur." Well, throughout the Bible, the fig tree is a symbolic name for Israel. And we know that Israel was reestablished in 1947. And so from 1947 to 2017, that's 70 years. And the Bible specifically says that a generation is 70 years, 80 if by way of strength. So if we take the Bible specifically literally for what it says, for what Jesus says, when you see the fig tree springing blossoms and bringing forth new life, then you know that that generation shall not pass. Well, if we take that literally as when Israel was springing forth and returning back to their homeland in 1947, and the Bible says a generation is 70 to 80 years, we are in that time frame now. And that's not something that we should ignore. That's not something that we should just brush off. It hasn't happened in the entire 2,000 years since Jesus left till this generation. Until now. We're at the 70-year mark now. Okay? Another thing I want to talk about, how we can know we're in the time and we're in the season and that God is preparing His people. The Bible says that when the time of the end comes, God will pour His Spirit out upon all flesh, and that there will be young men will dream dreams and old men will see visions. If you guys haven't looked into this at all, or if you're unaware of this, please do it, just because it's so eye-opening about how God is trying to speak to the world. He is trying to warn the world. I want you to search in YouTube or in Google, just go and search end time dreams, rapture dreams, or tsunami dreams from God or from Jesus, and see how many thousands upon thousands of dreams and visions people have had about these things in just the last 10 years alone. There has been an unreal amount of people with very, very similar detailed and vivid dreams about the rapture occurring, about tribulation starting, and about tsunamis on both the East Coast and the West Coast of the United States occurring. Okay, and for me, that was just like ridiculous to see how many people are getting these dreams. And so I prayed and I asked God for a dream and for a sign. And I've had 3 separate dreams about rapture, about the return of Jesus, but I want to talk to you guys about one in specific that I had that was super, super detailed, which is another confirmation from God that I know in my lifetime I will see Jesus return. So I decided to do a fast. And I don't know if any of you guys have done this. Some of you guys as Catholics do like a smaller type of fast, or like for Lent, especially right now, you'll give up meat on Fridays. But I decided I was going to do a 1-day water only fast. And this is the first time I had ever done it. And so all day long I was at home. I was off work and I was praying and worshiping and reading the Bible, and I was really trying to lean into God. And I had another prayer answer that day that was very specific and very personal. And besides that, when I went to bed, I had this dream, which is like the greatest gift God has ever given me. So in the dream, I'm walking up to this like saloon type of restaurant or bar. I have my son, I'm carrying my son, and he doesn't look much older than he is now. I'm carrying him. I'm physically able to carry him. And I walk in the doors to this saloon, and the entire lower level is filled with these rambunctious, loud, drunk partiers. That's just all I can describe them as, very loud and rambunctious. And like if you imagine if you went into a packed country bar, that's pretty much what it was like. Okay, so then I see this lit up sign, like one of the bar type of neon signs, and it's like vertical. And it says holy and set apart, and the arrow points to the upstairs. So I'm like, I immediately know that's where I'm meant to be, holy and set apart. So I go upstairs with my son. And in the upstairs level, there's maybe like 30 people, and they're very quiet. And I know as soon as I get up there that we are expectantly awaiting the return of Jesus. We're just gathered together. We're quiet, we're praying, we're reading the Bible. We are expectantly waiting the return of Jesus Christ. Okay, so then the next thing that happens is the scene immediately changes, and I'm not with my son anymore. And the rest of the dream, my son isn't there, which, I'm not 100% sure what that means exactly. And it's also a little bit concerning to me that my husband wasn't in this dream at all either. But let me just continue on with what happened. So the scene changes, and it's really dark outside. And it was dark outside when I walked up to this saloon in the first place, too. And the same group of people that I'm with in the upstairs, the holy and set apart, are with me on this sort of like a raft couch device that's like a round cushion in this large pond or this large lake. And on the edges of the lake and in the water are all the rambunctious people. And they are upset and angry that we're on this raft and that they aren't, and that they're in the water, and they're trying to get to us. But honestly, we're just floating there comfortably in the water, and we're very calm. We're not concerned about the fact that these people are trying to get to us. Again, we're just waiting. We're just anxiously awaiting Jesus. Okay, then this scene changes again, and I'm back in a building, and there is a giant earthquake. Everything starts rumbling and shaking, and as this happens, as it starts moving and shaking, those of us that were in this group, this holy and set apart group, start rising